The bus driver waited for me. Every morning. I never knew why. Every morning at exactly 7:12, the yellow school bus stopped directly in front of my broken wooden gate. Not at the corner where the other children waited, in front of my house. And every morning, the driver waited for me, even when I was 10 minutes late, even when the other children complained, even when I stood behind the curtain and refused to come outside. For almost a year, that bus never left without me. I thought the driver felt sorry for the poor boy whose mother had abandoned him. I was wrong. He was waiting because of a promise he had made years earlier, to someone I believed had left me forever. My name is Ethan Cole. When I was 11, I lived with my father, Richard, in a small house at the edge of Millbrook. Our roof leaked, the heater barely worked, and some mornings breakfast was only dry cereal. My father worked night shifts at a warehouse. He came home as I prepared for school, exhausted and covered in dust. But he always asked, "Did you sleep well, buddy?" I always said yes, though I often stayed awake thinking about my mother. Her name was Anna. My father told me she had left when I was 4 because she wanted a different life. She wasn't ready to be a mother, he once said. After that, I stopped asking about her. I had only one photograph. She was sitting on a park bench, holding me as a baby, laughing as the wind blew through her hair. I kept it hidden inside an old dictionary beneath my bed. The bus driver's name was Mr. Harris. He was in his late 50s, with silver hair, tired blue eyes, and a scar across his hand. Each morning when I climbed aboard, he gave me the same quiet nod. "Morning, Ethan." "Morning." But I noticed small things. When I forgot lunch, a brown paper bag appeared beside my seat. When it rained, he parked so close to our gate that I barely got wet. And when older boys laughed at my worn-out shoes, Mr. Harris stared into the mirror until they became silent. Then, one freezing January morning, I learned he didn't treat everyone that way. Our electricity had gone out, and my alarm never rang. When I woke, it was already 7:25. The bus should have been gone. I threw on my clothes and ran outside. Mr. Harris was still there. "We've been waiting 13 minutes, a girl shouted. Mr. Harris ignored her and opened the door. "Take your time," he told me. "The steps are icy." Embarrassed, I whispered, "You didn't have to wait." His hands tightened around the steering wheel. "Yes," he said quietly. "I did." A few weeks later, my father lost his job. He didn't tell me. Every morning, he still wore his warehouse uniform and pretended he had just returned from work. But one afternoon, I saw him sitting in his car behind a grocery store, holding an envelope and crying. I walked home without letting him see me. Soon, our refrigerator was almost empty. The electricity was disconnected twice, and my father sold the television and his tools. One morning, I said I was sick. I wasn't. There was a hole in my shoe, and I couldn't bear another day of being mocked. My father touched my forehead. "You don't have a fever." My stomach hurts. Then he noticed my shoe. He went to his room and returned with $20. "Buy yourself lunch today." "I already have lunch money." "Then keep it." Later, I learned it was the last money he had. When the bus arrived, I stayed behind the curtain. Mr. Harris waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then the engine stopped. Someone knocked on the door. My father opened it. Mr. Harris stood outside holding a shoebox. "I think a student left this on the bus," he said. Inside was a brand new pair of sneakers. My size. "They're not ours," my father said. Mr. Harris looked past him at me. "I'm certain they are." "We don't need charity." "It isn't charity." "Then what is it?" Mr. Harris lowered his voice. "Something I should have done a long time ago." My father stepped outside and closed the door. They began arguing on the porch. I moved closer and heard my mother's name. "Anna." "You promised never to come near him," my father said. I promise to give you time, Mr. Harris replied. Not 12 years. You don't know what she did to us? I know exactly what happened. Then my father said the words that changed everything. Anna is dead. Ethan believes she left. That's how it needs to stay. I opened the door. Both men froze. What do you mean she's dead? My father went pale. Ethan, go inside. You said she left us? Go inside. Mr. Harris stepped forward. He deserves the truth. My father pushed him. A silver chain slipped from beneath Mr. Harris's shirt. A tiny photograph hung from it. My mother's photograph. Why do you have her picture? I whispered. Neither man answered. So I ran. I didn't take a coat or know where I was going. I only knew that every adult in my life had lied to me. Mr. Harris found me an hour later beneath the bleachers at the school football field. My hands were numb and my teeth were shaking. He placed his coat around my shoulders. Then he whispered, "Your mother didn't leave you." I stared at him. She loved you more than anything. Then where is she? His eyes filled with tears. 12 years ago, Anna worked as a nurse at Millbrook Medical Center. One night, a fire broke out in the East Wing. I remembered hearing that a nurse had died helping patients escape. Your mother went back inside 3 times, he continued. She saved 6 people. My chest tightened. What happened the 4th time? She didn't come back out. The world seemed to stop. No, I said. My father said she left. Your father was destroyed. He blamed the hospital himself, and eventually her for going back inside. For saving people? He couldn't explain death to a 4-year-old, so he told you she had chosen another life. I pulled her photograph from my pocket. Why do you have her picture? Mr. Harris took a slow breath. Because Anna was my daughter. I looked at him. You're my grandfather? He nodded. Suddenly, the lunches, the shoes, and the long waits all made sense. Why didn't you tell me? Your father wouldn't let me see you. He said I reminded him too much of Anna. So you became a bus driver? A broken smile appeared on his face. When I learned your school needed a driver, I applied. You drove that bus just to see me? Every morning. I cried for the mother I had hated, the grandfather I had never known, and the years stolen by one terrible lie. Mr. Harris held me until I could breathe again. Then I said, I'll never forgive my father. He looked at me gently. Your father was wrong. But grief can turn good people into frightened people. Hear his whole story before you decide. When we returned home, my father was sitting on the porch. In his hands was the wooden jewelry box I thought he had sold. Inside were articles about the fire, photographs of my mother in her nursing uniform, and a letter with my name on it. My father handed it to me. She wrote this before you were born. My hands shook as I unfolded it. My dearest Ethan, one day you may wonder whether you were wanted. You were. Before I held you, I loved you. Before I heard your voice, I prayed for you. Whatever happens, never believe I would willingly leave you. You are the greatest part of me. Love always, Mom. I could barely read the final words through my tears. My father covered his face. I was angry at her, he whispered. Then I was ashamed. Every year, the lie became harder to correct. You let me think she abandoned me. I know. You let me hate her. I know. His voice broke. I was afraid that if you knew the truth, you would love her more than me. It was a terrible confession, but it was finally honest. My father looked at Mr. Harris. I kept you away because you reminded me of her. Mr. Harris nodded. And I kept waiting because Ethan reminded me of her. My father began to cry. Mr. Harris stepped forward and embraced him. At first, my father stood still. Then he held on. 3 broken people stood together in the snow. mourning the same woman in 3 different ways. Nothing became perfect overnight. I didn't forgive my father immediately, and Mr. Harris couldn't forget the years he had lost. But the next morning, at exactly 7:12, the bus stopped at our gate. This time, my father walked outside with me. Mr. Harris opened the door. My father said, "You don't have to wait anymore." Mr. Harris smiled. "Yes, I do." But now he wasn't waiting because of an old promise. He was waiting because he was finally allowed to be my grandfather. Years later, Mr. Harris became too sick to drive. I visited him in the hospital and held his scarred hand. "Do you remember all those mornings you waited for me?" I asked. He smiled. "Every one of them." "I never thanked you." "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did. You made sure I was never left behind." Tears filled his eyes. "That was the promise I made to your mother." Mr. Harris died 3 days later. At his funeral, my father stood beside me. And for the first time, I understood. Sometimes the people who wait for us are not trying to hold us back. They are protecting us until we are ready to learn the truth. And sometimes the person who seems like a stranger has loved you your entire life.